a.m. to 10:30 a.m. on Solutions 93.9 FM as they dive into the headlines with in-depth analysis and feedback from you on different stories from the national dailies. Start your day by gaining fresh perspectives, uncovering the story behind the story, and join the conversation. Because your voice matters. From the dailies, the conversation never stops.
All right, studio time check 933 on 939 Solutions FM. My name is Aditamola Lafenwa. Here comes the program from the dailies, the program where we get to take you through the major, or let me say, the trending stories in today's national dailies. And this morning, I've got three newspapers. I've got the Vanguard newspaper, I've got the Guardian newspaper, and of course, I've got the Punch newspaper. And of course, I have Comrade Ayodeji Ajishokwe joining me virtually this morning to give us his own perspectives on the various stories we'll be discussing this morning. A beautiful morning to you, Comrade Ayodeji Ajishokwe.
Yes, a good morning to you, my dear comrade brother.
All right, so without wasting our time, let's go straight to the business of the day. There is a particular screaming headline on the front page of the Vanguard newspaper this morning, and I'm sure this particular story is giving a lot of parents a lot of concern at the moment. Now, talking about the restriction, or let me say the age limit being put on the children that be, or the students that be writing the West African Examination Council exams, that is WAEC, as put by Vanguard newspaper this morning. Outrage as FG pegs age for writing WASC at 18 years. And riders under that, we have this one saying, it will draw back education, NUT. We will go to court. Parents will respond later, WAEC. We want meeting of stakeholders, CONWA. And the last rider says, why are parents rushing their children? ASU. We'll definitely talk about this particular story. It's found on page 5.
We need to.
We need to talk about it. It's found on page 5 of the Vanguard newspaper. And away from that, let me take this. Tinubu appoints Muhammad as DG, NIA, Ajayi, DG, DSS. Okay, away from that, Global Union, others decry worsening rights abuse in Nigeria. This is becoming rampant. We spoke about this yesterday, and I mean, it's getting global concerns now. But if time permits us this morning, we'll talk about that again. We'll implement state police, say Ondo, Rivers, our governors. Okay, because of our time, let me move to the Punch newspaper. FG to short errant fuel stations as petrol hits 1,000 naira per litre. And rider queues persist in NNPCL major marketer stations as PMS shortage worsens. And this is still talking about the WAEC story. WAEC, ASU, NUT differ as FG bans under 18 candidates. That's what is found on page 2 of the Punch newspaper. Kidnapped doctor, patients groan as NARD strike grounds hospital. That is the National Association of Resident Doctors. They've embarked on strike now and to express their grievances concerning a colleague of theirs who was kidnapped. So, okay, away from that, ASU protests LASU members' dismissal, brands VC enemy. Okay, Comrade Ayode Jashokpe, we have a barely, let's say, 23 minutes to spend on the program this morning. So let's go straight to the particular story concerning putting age limit on the writing of WAEC examination by student. But before that, let's take a listen at the voice of the Minister of Education, Honorable Minister of Education, that is Professor Tahir Maman. And let's after listening to what he said, we'll talk on that.
18. What we did at the meeting that we had with JAM was to allow this year and for it to serve as a kind of notice for parents that, look, this year, yes, JAM will admit students who are below that age. But from next year, JAM is going to insist that anybody going to apply to go to University in Nigeria meets the required age, which is 18. And for the avoidance of doubt, this is not a new policy. This is a policy that has been there for a long time. And even basically, if you compute the number of years learners are supposed to be in school, the number you end up with is 17 and a half. From early child care to primary school, then junior secondary school, and then the senior secondary school. You would end up with 17 and a half. And by the time they are ready, the school year is ready for admission, you have that's the age that they will be ready for admission. So we are not actually coming up with new policy contrary to what some people are saying. We are just simply reminding people of what is existing. And in any case, NECO and WAEC henceforth will not be allowing underage children to write their examinations. In other words, if somebody has not spent the requisite number of years, in that particular level of study, WAEC and NECO will not allow them to write the examination.
All right, Comrade Ayode Jashokpe, I'm sure you listened to the voice of Professor Tahir, the Honorable Minister of Education, talking about that issue. So what do you make out of this age limit being put on the students writing WAEC? Is it a good thing? Because parents are beginning to protest that.
Well, let's take a look at how did we get to this location. There is a national policy on education. We know that.
Definitely.
Anybody that lays claim to not knowing it, well, ignorance cannot pass. So we have that policy. And what does it say? It used to be a 6334, you understand? Then it was moved to 934. And what the Honorable Minister said, he said that at a policy meeting of JAM, and I remember when he said that, the entire staff who were at the policy meeting, all those who were at the policy meeting, shouted, no, and shouted the minister down. You understand? And the minister had to remind them that there's an education policy in place since 1983. It started out as 6334, and then it was modified to 93. I think 9 means 6 in primary, 3 in junior. They were consolidated. You understand? That means it's the minimum. 6 in primary to junior secondary school is consolidated to be 1. You understand? And then senior secondary education, and then so it is 934. You understand? Now, what is the challenge there? What was the intendment of that policy? That means you go to minimum you can do. Minimum you're expected to do is junior secondary school. But the underlying factor in that policy was to provide us with, requisite skills for development. What are you supposed to do when you leave junior secondary school? Probably go to a technical school and all of that.
Okay.
How many technical schools do we have? and all of that. Do we have technical schools? If we have them, it used to be very popular in Oyo State. There used to be one in Oyo, very functional, very vibrant. The one in Urubu was just scattered all over the place. Are they functional anymore? And these are skills that we need. But everybody wants their children to go to university. They don't even want their children to go to the polytechnic. I find it very strange. Now, be that as it may, that was the original intendment of the policy. How did we get here? How did we get to, you go to primary schools now, you don't have primary 6 again.
Okay.
You understand? You don't have primary 6. I was at a program, graduation program, when they were vacating. I saw one little boy, and I was told that he was leaving school. He did exam in primary 4, so he was moving to GSS 1. Okay, even in my time, people got into universities at 16, and it is not impossible. I'm a son of teachers, you understand? Of course, I got into primary school before I was 5. That was okay. I think about 5. That was when I got into primary school.
Because me too. I wrote my WAEC at 16.
So I did the same thing. My older sister did the same thing. She got out of secondary school at 16. So I got into university legit, and I mean legit. I did my 5 years in secondary school. I didn't jump in. So these things, but when you now use the backdrop of what happens in tertiary education now, the way they run some universities now, especially those private universities, you go and take exia, the one they call exia, before you go anywhere, treating them like secondary school children. You understand? Because they are not actually mature.
But what
I went to one particular private.
Comrade, what this minister said, the Minister of Education, Professor Tahir Mamman, said, now breaking down the age limit, talking about means you must start primary 1 at 6 and end primary school by 12. And if it is
what happens to junior? What happens to geniuses in advanced countries?
That's my question. We have
professors at 20.
We have some exceptional students. And we like you said, we have students graduating at 18. Now, if this policy is really meant to at least to regularize this process that we've had, the system we've had before, why is NUT complaining that it will draw back education? These are the teachers. They are the ones complaining.
Look. Okay, that was a knee-jerk reaction. If you say NUT, or you see NUT president, did they hold a meeting and take a position, or the man was just talking off the top?
The way it is being put here, it says NUT, meaning probably the body, not even somebody speaking on their behalf.
That's coming from NUT itself. That statement is sloppy. You understand? It will draw back education. You do an analysis. You just don't make a sloppy statement like that. And coming from NUT, it should be worrisome. You understand? It should be worrisome. Look, what I will, in my own opinion, is that if any child in the United States, you can't do a law degree without a previous first degree. You understand? Which requires maturity. So,
but in the same United States, we are having professors at 25, 26.
Exactly. There must be recognition. There must be space for such people to maneuver. That is when you don't allow that flexibility. That is when you are drawing people back.
Now, with this limitation put in place now, there is no exception. The minister didn't say there will be exception. There will be exceptions for some exceptional students too.
You see,
because let me quote him. He actually said this in that statement. I just didn't play to that part. He said he understands the fact that there are some exceptional students, but if he creates a window for such students, they will eventually turn that window into a door. Quoting him now.
Let me make one thing abundantly clear to you. We are very creative in Nigeria. And when I say creative, I mean creative. The people who enrollment for WAEC will drop. People will start doing other exams. There are other exams available. You get what I mean?
Other exams.
Wait,
comrade. Other exams, are those exams recognized by the universities? Yes. That's one question we must ask ourselves. You can't just go. I can't send my kids to go and write an exam that won't be tenable, or that they won't be able to present.
Enrollment for Cambridge will go up.
Okay.
You understand? Look, Nigerians are very creative. Somebody told me that they want to pull some people down or back. I mean, those are parochial, baseless arguments. It's a national policy. It had been in place. You understand? People have said, and I guess that there is a need for us to do skilling up. And when I say skilling up of our children, education is beyond the one Yoruba calls book knowledge. You understand? Education has to be rounded. I was speaking to a potential copper that has been called up yesterday. The mother called me from England. She has been posted to Delta. I said, I didn't want to say you will go, because my opinion is you must go where you're posted. I said, have you been to Ilorin? She was born and raised in Ibadan. She said no. I said, have you been to Benin? She said no. That means she has not crossed talking of Ilorin. I'm not talking of Jeba crossing River Niger or going to the southeast. So. What kind of education is that? What kind of education is that? You are 22. You have been in Ibadan. You have not gone to Ilorin. You have not gotten to Benin. You say you live in Nigeria. They post you to Delta. You say you are not going.
Sir, we probably, many parents are afraid of letting their kids go that far as regards NYC now, because we really can't blame the parents. During my days when I went, I finished from UI, and I served at River State, and my parents didn't raise any eyebrow sending me there. But if your child is being posted to a far distance now,
how many times did your parents check you up? How many times did your parents check you up in the hostel?
Because there were no cases there were no cases of insecurity as we have it now.
You are from Ibadan.
Yes.
You live. Your parents live in Ibadan.
I was born and bred in Ibadan. I schooled throughout.
How many times did they check you up? How many times did they check you up in the hostel to come and check you in school?
Okay.
How many times?
Well, I wasn't.
Even your mom.
No, they never came. They never came.
Oh, they never did.
Because I was, because I schooled at UI, so I was always going home during the weekends.
You see,
there was no need for them.
One thing is that they will still skip those classes. You understand? Get right. Nigerians are creative. You see, I don't think there's any need for enforcement. Blanket enforcement like that. And WAEC has no. Let me make this clear. JAM can say what they like. Ministry of Education. JAM, what do they call this one? WAEC. WAEC is not a Nigerian thing. You understand? It is West African Examinations Council. So WAEC Nigeria cannot be saying that.
But comrade,
is that a policy of WAEC?
Do you know that?
Is it a policy of WAEC Nigeria?
This limitation started with JAM. JAM came up with the limitation that if you are not 18, you shouldn't write JAM. Starting from next year. I think that was what brought about WAEC now making this decision now. But we should not forget the fact that there are students that will suffer from this. Are we not going to have students that will suffer from this? What happens to a child?
How are they going to suffer from
What happens to a child? Okay, I told you I was already 16 at SS3. So if a child is at 16 at SS3 now, does it mean that such child will have to waste 2 years before he or she can write WAEC?
How do you say? What do you mean by waste?
That's what.
There are things. There are skills. There are skills. If this is policy, that is our reality.
What are those skills?
Wait a minute. They say you are supposed to spend 6 years in primary school, 3 years in junior secondary school, and 3 years in senior secondary school. They say you'll be 17 plus. You're supposed to be 17 plus. And by the time the next exam is done for admission into university, by admission time, you will be 18. Policy. They didn't come up with it suddenly. We must realize this. That is the master plan. But is it rigid? Shouldn't there be flexibility? You understand? I don't see any problem with a child coming into primary school at 5. I don't see any problem with that. Even way back, I did. I'm a teacher, me, so naturally, I go to school earlier. I didn't skip any class, but I still got out of secondary school at that age because it was even 5 years then. You understand? 5 plus 5, that's 10.
And
5 plus 5 is 10.
Asu is also asking the parents question now. Why are parents rushing their children? Are parents rushing their children in actual fact?
Let me make it abundantly clear. Parents are not rushing. They are pressuring their children.
Pressuring.
We are on long vacation now. Yes, we're on long vacation now. Sample parents who have children even primary school, they send them to summer school. What nonsense is that? What absolute nonsense is that? Children are on vacation, summer vacation.
They are supposed to be rested.
That's absolute irrationality. And I saw those little children with their grandma. I said, where are you going? You know, I was shocked. He said, one lesson in it. I said, what nonsense is that? Lesson for what? At what age? And my parents during holidays, we will travel. I mean, travel. My father will sit us down in his library. He will say, okay, where are we going? How are we going to get there? How are we going to come back? That is education. That is the biggest education I got. I was listening to one guy on radio. And he cannot be more than 40 or 37. He says he has taken his children on vacation trips. And I don't mean vacation, you will stay in hotel. There are times you can go and come back one day. You understand? That is education. And let me tell you, in the world we are now, skills. Beyond the one Yorubas call book knowledge, which makes us unable to apply even the knowledge that we have. Every child is born with a gift and passion. Find out their passions, skill them up on the basis of those passions that they have. That passion never fails. So even if they identify their passion before they get into tertiary education, they can talk. I was listening to one guy, Jimmy Disu, you know him.
Yes.
He said, because Jimmy Disu, he was telling us this morning, he said it was his wife that said his son, before going to university, should pick up a skill. He said before he knew it, he picked up the skill of fixing phones. He said before he knew it, the boy had become a businessman and their house had become, bustling with a crowd. Let our children identify their passion. It is book.
Okay, comrade.
That's not enough.
I want to read a comment here on one of our angels. I'm trying to get the comment now. Okay, now I hope you're listening. Now, pagan students age at 18. Most of the children of those who pegged admission age to 18 don't school in Nigeria, but attend universities in countries where an 18-year-old can get his master's degree or PhD. It is an evil agenda, please. Could it be an implementation of Boko Haram sect belief that Western education is a sacrilege? I mean, that is coming from Akim Olatunji, saying that these people that are implementing this...
That is toxic.
Okay.
That is extreme and toxic. People should process what they are putting down. That's toxic. What's the meaning of that?
But let us keep the last paragraph of that comment. But he said those people implementing this particular age limitation, their children don't school in Nigeria. They school in universities abroad where a 19-year-old can get his master's degree or PhD.
Let me tell you, even the poor, and I don't want to put that poor in quotes, even the poor are sending their children to universities outside Nigeria, Benin Republic. You know how many universities are in those francophone countries, teaching those children in English as a language of instruction. Isn't that abroad? Isn't that and those foreign degrees, Ghana and the rest of it? Look, Nigerians will just become creative. We are creative. We cannot be stopped. You know that. We cannot be stopped.
Okay,
Nigerians are creative.
As we wrap up, I think somebody, Mafuji Peter, also shares your opinion. He said, "Good morning, presenter. Federal government's policy on education of 18 years minimum age for admission to university is a welcome development. Let our parents be patient to train their children well before they go to higher institution. God bless and heal our land. Okay, as we wrap up, what would be your advice to the parents now? As especially those ones that you say they are putting
I say
pressure.
it is policy. I don't subscribe to it.
Okay.
You understand?
Okay.
Or I don't subscribe to it. It is policy. That means I will graduate at 22. Why should I graduate at 22, for God's sake? Why should I graduate at 22? Why should I graduate at 22? Then you add NYSC to it. When you add NYSC to it, that is 23. And then in Nigeria, you start, how many parents will get a job immediately for their children? But I think it is an opportunity for parents to change the way they think about education. You understand? It is a big opportunity, so that rushing them through universities without skills, just looking for jobs for them. You have 35-year-olds, 40-year-olds, university graduates, master, PhD at home, being fed by their parents now. They have no skills. They have no skills. What you are doing is skill at what you have done to be in that seat this morning. It is skill acquisition. Nobody can just jump on that seat and do what you are doing. You understand?
Definitely.
Let's get pragmatic about skill acquisition rather than just looking for white-collar jobs.
All right, Comrade Iwa Eda, thank you very much. Definitely we'll talk more on this particular story tomorrow morning when we have more time to discuss it.
By God's grace.
All right, thank you very much. Okay, I've been speaking with Comrade Iwa Eda, our guest analyst, who has given us his own perspective of the story we read to your listening. And that's the wrap for today. That's the much the time can take us today. I'll be back again tomorrow morning for a fresh edition of From the Dailies on your number one radio dial, Solutions 93.9 FM. My name is Adedamola Lafenwa. Wishing everyone else a pleasant day. Good morning.
Papa, mama,